A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi wa bihi nasta'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Our discussion in this episode is about China today. We know that China is a rising power in the Pacific region, if not the world. China exercise its power as we saw its initiative in dealing with the Russo-Ukrainian war, and she was able to let us understand first the government of China. China is actually not a communist country; it is a capitalist country of sort. It is a state-sponsored capitalism, as the government has the power to really dictate the companies and a lot of corporations in China. We know that China is becoming a towering country, as a lot of countries in Middle East, in Africa, and South America are dependent on the products of China. And even the Philippines is filled with products in every home of every Filipino. This becomes reality after the rise of course, it was started by previous administrations, the like of Deng Xiaoping and a lot more. But it becomes so developed and progressive during the time of uh, Xi Jinping. One of the monumental legacy of Xi Jinping is that he was able to remove from power all the rivals of his leadership, of his uh, government. And that becomes a program on anti-corruption drive or campaign under the guise of cleansing the government. All the rivals of Xi Jinping were able to ostracize on the government. The heated discussion or argument in the present time is the battle for the Pacific against the United States of America. As we discussed in our previous episode, that United States had diplomatic deals in the island countries in the Pacific, namely Polynesia, Melanesia, and other island countries. Recently or last year, China had a diplomatic overture on Solomon Island. This was called as China's Solomon Island deal. They have this agreement on security and economic aspect. A clause in the agreement says that China can make ship visits to carry out logistical replacements and have stopover and transition in Solomon Islands, as well as send Chinese forces to the country to protect the safety of Chinese personnel and major projects. So this is the closing uh, the clause of the agreement. The Solomon Island security deal is the second China has after its military base in Djibouti in Africa. Uh, China was able to create a chain of ports, and those ports are located in the most strategic areas of the world. For example, in Gwadar in Pakistan, in Sri Lanka, in Djibouti, and the island or Solomon Islands. So those are the ports which would serve as an important strategic position of China should there be a conflict against the United States of America. And another important thing when we discuss China today is the idea of the Belt and Road Initiative. This is what you call BRI. After a decade, China has signed memorandums of understanding with 150 countries and 32 multinational organizations, among which are 46 in Africa, 37 in Asia, 27 in Europe, 11 in North America, 11 in the Pacific, and 8 in Latin America, which results that China is now the world's number one overseas investor. So that's how the economic muscle of China is stretching. It extended around the world. And when we say BRR or belt, that is a restorations or the renewal or the remaking of the Silk Road of the ancient Silk Road, the road starting from China to Europe, and that was a very important uh, chain of roads during the past years in China, or past centuries uh, have passed. The road in the BRI, the road there is not necessarily a road that is a super highways or a big roads. What do we mean by road there is a lot of uh, ports, as we mentioned earlier. So because of this Belt and Road Initiative, China was able to really create an empire that would last for centuries in the future. Another important thing is the semiconductor wars. You know, in the international stage, everyone needs each other. For example, Russia needs China, and China needs United States, and every powerful countries needs each other. For example, the largest consumers of Chinese products are United States, and the dollars, the billions of dollars are of United States funding are going to the banks of China because of the products in exchange of those products. And one important critical aspect of this rivalry is on the semiconductors. When we say semiconductors, semiconductor refers to a material like silicon that can conduct electricity much better than an insulator such as glass, but not as well as metals like copper or aluminum. Semiconductor chips are typically made from thin slices of silicon that are the size of one's hand and thinner than a piece of human hair. And today, the global market for semiconductors is driven by growing demand for smartphones, tablets, digital TVs, wireless communications, infrastructure, network hardware, and all other goods that use computers. So, in other words, uh, semiconductor is really important in the modern technology that we are using today. You cannot make or you cannot produce or manufacture smartphones or tablets without using these semiconductors. And semiconductors, 75% of semiconductors or raw semiconductors are coming from Taiwan. So that's why there is a heated rhetoric about war in Taiwan, because Taiwan is the largest producer and the largest uh, reserve of semiconductor. So, as of the moment, uh, the president of Taiwan went to United States of America, and the former president went to China. So, if you're going to analyze the situation, there is a rivalry and the conflict that is going on in Taiwan. there is a massive call or petition claiming that Taiwanese people are Chinese people. So that's why there is and a lot of people think that there is going to be a war between United States and China, using Taiwan as the pawn in this future war. And if you're going to understand the in a macro perspectives, the Philippines is also an important military base, U.S. military base that would become a supply line, or should there be a conflict between China and United States. So the big problem here is that when moment that that China knows that Philippines is now a headquarter military base of the United States, we will now become a military target of China, and our friendship will be no more because of this. The expansion of the EDGA would speak a lot. So because of this, as we have always been saying, that China is a rising power, and it stretches muscle politically and economically. But one thing is very important for us to understand is that China does not have an independent ideology uh, to market around the world. Russia has no ideology to market to the world. So the idea that the rising China is that uh, it would not spread any values. For example, Confucian values is cocooned in China, and we cannot expect that China wanted to make the world Chinese, unlike with other imperial powers before. So the only thing that China wants is that it wants to have a equal or fair share in the global pie, and the global resources should not be a monopoly of a one country. It should be for all. So that is the message of China. Thank you so much, and thank you for listening.